respect for the animal. Now, once you shoot the animal and it's down, what do you got to do with it? Field dress, tag it, field dress it. Although in Florida you don't tag it per se, there's no literal tag. But now there's a rule for deer hunting in Florida where for the first year, this is the first year ever, you have to report your kill. Okay, there's an 800 number you can call or a website you can visit, myfwc.com, and you report your kill. Now there's also, in Florida, up to this year, the number of deer you could kill in a season was unlimited. You could kill 2 deer per day and have 4 in possession. Now how does that make it unlimited? Well, I kill 4 deer, and then I give one to you. Now I only have 3 in my possession, right? So I can go kill another one. And then I give one to you. Now I only have 3 in my possession. I go kill another one. I know a guy who killed 16 deer one season because he kept giving them away. As long as he didn't have more than 4 in possession, he was okay. But now there's a new rule in Florida that you can only kill 5 in a season. Or annually, actually. It says annually. 5 annually. That's it. And only 2 of them can be annual. So that's all seasons. That's where you shoot with archery, general gun, anything. It's all seasons. It's 5.
That's even giving them away?
No, that's it. It doesn't matter whether you give them away or not. You can only kill 5 in a season, in a year. 5 a year. Okay? So you have during archery season, general gun, during those muzzle loader, crossbow, all those add together to be your 5. And 2 of them can be antlerless. So like, 2 of them for bow, or if you're doing doe day, or weekend, or whatever it is. And those 2 count toward your total of 5. Still only 4 in possession. Still only 2 per day. Okay? So you 2 per day, 4 in possession, 5 annual. Any questions about that? Okay, so you do know that you need to, now I've said it and I'll say it again, you have to report your deer when you get it. Okay? Now in most public areas, there's also an antler restriction for bucks. And it depends upon which wildlife management area you're in, but generally it's usually 3 points on the side or a 10-inch main beam. Has to be at least one of those 2 things. 10-inch main beam minimum, or bigger, or 3 points on the side. Now some of them have a 4-point restriction, and but they all have that 10-inch main beam. Okay, so now there's another thing about respect for the animal. You shoot the animal, you have permission on the land you're on, and it jumps the fence. Now it's on another piece of property. You don't have permission to hunt there.
Is that your phone? Or my
What do you do?
My phone.
Here you have an ethical dilemma, right?
I'm gonna go down and get set up.
Because if you shoot something and just let it lay there and leave it, that's actually not just unethical, that's also illegal. That's wanton and willful waste of wildlife. And that's against the law, so it's definitely unethical. So now it's on the other property, you don't have permission to hunt there.
Don't you have a right to claim it as long as you don't have your weapon with you?
Actually, no. But here's what you do. Because you have this ethical dilemma, you have to think about what are you going to do. Well, first, try to contact the landowner if you can, right? And if you can't contact the landowner, if you can't figure it out, you don't have Onyx Hunt or something like that, there's an app that you can get for your phone called Onyx Hunt. And it'll show you the names of landowners. It costs like $100 a year or something like that. Depends upon which version you get. And then, if you can't contact the landowner, try to call FWC or local law enforcement and try to get them to contact the landowner to give you permission to go over there and get the deer or whatever it is that you shot, right? Now, if you can't do any of that, because say you're out of cell phone range, and it's hot and your meat's going to spoil and all that, now what do you do? Try to go get it, but what do you got to do first? Okay, you're breaking the law by trespassing. But you got to make sure that, as this gentleman said, You leave all your weapons behind. You take your knife out of your pocket, you take your gun, you take your ammo, all of that stuff, and your bow, your arrows, and you leave it on the land that you have permission to, and cross the fence. Now here's the thing. When you're over on that other side, that's trespass. But if you take a knife with you, that's armed trespass, and that's a felony. Just trespass is simple, and that's a misdemeanor. And somebody has to press charges against you for that, okay? But if you have the knife with you, the police can get you just for that, okay? A knife, a simple pocket knife. So leave that all behind. And then the ethical thing is to go gather the animal. Right? Even though it's breaking the law, it's the ethical thing to do. And then if somebody comes along and wants to fine you for that, you accept the consequences. Right? So a friend of mine was hunting in a public area, and it was a 3-point on the side restriction on this particular area. This was before this year. It was like probably 7 or 8 years ago. And we were bow hunting, we shot the deer, and when we found it, it turned out it only had 2 points on the side. And the way it was facing him, he thought one of the antlers from the right side was actually on the left, so he thought there was 3 points, the way he was looking at it. He made the mistake of not using his binoculars. Now you think here in Florida, you know, you got these relatively close shots, why use the binoculars? Well, number one, for me, you can look through the brush better, right? Like if you look back here, that looks like a solid wall. Your brain interprets that as a solid wall. And you really can't see anything behind it. But if you take a pair of binoculars, you'll be able to look through the holes in that wall to something focused and focus on the other side. So it allows your brain to pick things apart. I was hunting one time in Duet, which is a Manatee County Park that you can hunt on, which by the way is coming up in August. They have the orientation for that. I was in there and I was using my binoculars and I was looking at a tree trunk. But it looked kind of furry. And then it moved. And it was a hog. And I was able to stalk that hog down and kill it, but I would have never seen it without the binoculars. Because all I saw was this much of a leg. That was it. But I would have not seen it without the binoculars. And it was only like about 70 yards away, which isn't really all that far. But it's far enough that my brain would have interpreted it as just another stick, you know, without the binoculars. So use that. The other thing is that then when you're looking at a deer, you shouldn't be looking through your scope to see what you're looking at. You should use your binoculars, because if it's a human, you don't want to be pointing your rifle at a human, right? So use your binoculars to see what it is that you're looking at. Does it have 4 points on the side? Or 3 points, or whatever is required? Is that 10 inches? How big is 10 inches? You know, some of us might think 10 inches is bigger than it really is, you know? So, use your binoculars. So now so we've got the deer down on the ground and we got it back, and now we're gonna field dress it. So what kind of things do we need for a field dressing kit?
Gloves, sharp knife.
Gloves? Or you use like some kind of like, don't want to get your hands dirty kind of guy or something? Why would you wear gloves?
Bacteria.
Disease, absolutely. In fact, especially when, with hogs, wild hogs,
Tuberculosis. Don't they carry tuberculosis?
brucellosis.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Brucellosis. Brucellosis is a disease that they consider up to 30% of the hogs, wild hogs in Florida carry. In some areas it's a higher percentage, some areas it's less, but it's really hard to tell if a hog has it or not. But I can tell you this, that if you get it, it'll enter through your bloodstream. If you have a little bit of cut or something on you, that you get that blood on you from that hog, you'll get brucellosis. And the symptoms, brucellosis itself doesn't kill you by itself, but what happens is you get flu-like symptoms for the rest of your life. It's untreatable. And it weakens your immune system, and then something else kills you. Okay? But you end up dying much younger than you would, and you got flu-like symptoms your whole life. Now, how many people have ever had the flu? Anybody not raise their hand? Okay? Anybody who didn't raise their hand is probably just lying, right? How many people enjoyed the flu? Not me, I'm not raising my hand on that one. Nobody enjoys the flu. Now, think about having that for the rest of your life. That would suck. So, don't get brucellosis. Wear nitrile or latex. If you're allergic to latex, use nitrile or plastic, some vinyl, something, some kind of gloves.
What about the meat? Is it okay to eat?
Yeah, once you cook it, then it's fine. But with pigs, you're gonna cook it anyway, because there's another disease you can get from uncooked pork. There's lots of them. And one of them is trichinosis, hookworms. Okay, you don't wanna get those, so you wanna cook it thoroughly, okay?
Keeps you skinny.
Pardon me?
Keeps you skinny.
Keeps you skinny, yeah. Okay. That and tapeworms are good for that too. You wanna get a tapeworm. Yeah, so it's good. Keeps you skinny. Yeah, sometimes it's not good to be skinny. Yeah. Anyway, so there are 3 things that can cause meat spoilage. What are those 3 things?
Heat, dryness, moisture.
Heat,
Dryness, moisture.
dryness, and moisture? Heat,
Dirt.
yeah, heat, dirt, and moisture. Those are the 3. Heat, dirt, and moisture. Okay? So that's something you'll want to remember, that heat, dirt, and moisture cause. So like, you're out in the swamp somewhere and you shoot a hog, or better yet, you shoot a deer, and it has 45 points on one side. Right? You're out there in the swamp, and it's, what is it? It's hot. It's dirty. And it's wet. Now, do you field dress it out there in the middle of the swamp?
Nope.
Why not?
Because he's wet.
It-
He has everything.
And you get more inside of it than you would. So you wait till you get it out to someplace where it's dry, at least that you're not got the moisture. You might still have some heat and dirt. You want to get it to a clean place that's dry. And here in Florida, it's kind of impossible to avoid the heat, but at least you get it someplace else. Now, what I do with hogs is I usually just bone them out without gutting them. Take all the meat out of the outside once I got it. Now, when you are dressing an animal, is it easier to do that while it's hanging up or laying on the ground? Hanging usually. Now, some people like to do the tailgate method of skinning, where you put it up on a tailgate and you skin and turn it and skin and turn it. That's you know, some people like that. But for the purposes of this class, hanging is the better way of doing it, okay? You know, there will be times where we'll say something in class that for the purposes of this class, that's the answer. And that's because there's a test that you gotta take, and the test is looking for certain kinds of answers. And we happen to know what those questions and answers are. Not that we can give you the questions and answers, because that would be what?
Unethical.
Right? But we can clue you in that there might be more than one right answer, but there's only one answer that the test is gonna be looking for. Okay, so, not to say that the test would be looking for that it's hanging, but for the purposes of this class, that's the best method. If y'all get my meaning, okay? All right, so we covered that. So we got gloves as one part of the cleaning kit. What else? A saw, yeah. A nice sharp knife, a rope, maybe a hatchet, if you have, you know, or a saw. How about a chainsaw? No. I don't think that's on the new test. That was on the old test. It asked if you could use a chainsaw. And we think that's probably a no. So, let's see. All right, so we talked about respect for the animal. Let's talk about respect for the landowner. Should you show more respect or less respect if you're on public land versus private land? Same. In fact, to me, you should show even more respect on public land, because now you're not just disrespecting one landowner, you're disrespecting all of us.
It's ours.
Right? But even so, you want to respect the landowner, right? So what about, like, you're on private land and there's a gate and you have permission to hunt this whole area, like a couple thousand acres or whatever it is. There's a gate and it's closed, and you go through it, how should you leave that gate? How you found it, that's the right answer. If the gate is closed, when you go through, leave it closed. If it's open, leave it open. You leave it in whatever position it is. Now what if you're like wandering around out there and you see like part of the fence is down? Do you fix the fence?
Yes.
Well, you don't know. Maybe the landowner has it down for a particular reason. But what you do is let the landowner know that the fence is down and offer to help fix it, right? You know, but you definitely let them know that it's down, and they may already know about it, and they're saying, oh, yeah, that's where I want the deer to cross there, or I have the cattle going through that spot there. I didn't feel like putting in a gate, so I dropped the fence. You know, they do that sometimes. And so you don't want to change anything about that. Is it okay if you have a hunting license to hunt anywhere you want in Florida on private land, for example? No, it does not give you permission to hunt on private land. Now, when I was growing up in New Jersey, I've been here since 1977, so I've actually lived here longer than I did in New Jersey. I was only there for 18 years. And so I moved out when I was 18 years. Anyway, there, if the land wasn't posted, you could hunt it. Okay? That was the rules back then. Today they're a little different. So here, you have to know whether or not you have permission. Now, what kind of permission should you have from a landowner? Written permission. And just because you have written permission, does that mean you can bring your 7 buddies with you? Now, they all have to have written permission too. Okay? So how do you know about where the boundaries of a property are? What are things that are considered a posting in Florida? Sign is one of them. There's actually 4. No. No, that's, in other states, that's true, like in Missouri, a purple paint on a tree, but it has to be a sign, okay? What else?
Fence.
A fence, exactly. The last 2 are like more subtle, and most people don't know this, okay? Agricultural planting, so like an orange grove, that's a posting. You're not supposed to go there, or if it's strawberries, or tomatoes, any kind of agricultural planting is a posting in Florida, and that means you can't trespass there without, of course, written permission. And then the 4th one is a waterway. So like the Myakka River is a waterway, and you can't cross that waterway without getting permission. It's a posting. Okay, any kind of waterway, lake, water, any river, creek. Well, smaller creeks probably not, but like a larger creek that you can put a boat on, that's a waterway. You can't, that counts as a posting. So if you're canoeing on the Myakka River and you want to camp overnight, you have to have permission of the landowner where you want to camp, otherwise you're trespassing. That make sense? Okay. So let's say you've got permission to hunt on a particular piece of land. You got written permission, and you're going to use a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Is that okay? As long as he says he can. Perfect. That's the right answer. As long as you have permission. Now, one of the things that landowners often complain about is misuse of off-road or highway or off-road vehicles, or ATVs. And they're like, you don't go tearing up their fields or driving off the regular trails that they have. Now, if they say you can do that, that's a whole different thing. But again, you should ask permission. Don't assume it. Don't assume it. Just ask. And the worst they can say is no, and then you just stay to the roads where you're supposed to be. Right? Let's see. All right, so that's respect for the landowner, right? Okay, so now let's go to the public in general, and that's laws. Why do we have these laws?
Because if we don't have
Protect
laws,
the
we can't
animals?
kill them. They're just gonna kill everything whenever they want.
Right, so then there's, so it gives opportunity for all, right?
To regulate.
To regulate, to make sure that the animals can, be okay, right? Now, most people don't know this, but this is true, that no animal has ever gone extinct from regulated hunting. Now, there was this kind of hunting called market hunting that did make animals go extinct. Market hunting was where they would kill animals and then sell the meat. You can't sell game meat in the United States. Now you go, well, how do I get elk in a restaurant? How do I get deer in a restaurant? Those are from farms. Okay, and they're specially licensed to raise the wild animals for slaughter for restaurants and such. Okay, so those are from farms. And now one exception to that is alligators. You can sell alligators after you've harvested them, because that license is actually not a hunting license, it's a commercial trapping license. And quick commercial announcement, we do guiding, we have gator tags available. Okay. End of commercial announcement. All right, so we have game laws. Now, one of the laws that hunters put in place that we lobbied for and got from the legislature was back in the 30s, called the Pittman-Robertson Act, or also known as the Federal Aid and Wildlife Restoration Act. Okay? Now that has contributed billions of dollars to conservation. All the books that you have here, this is all from the Pittman-Robertson Act, dollars. Okay? All of the equipment that we use, Pittman-Robertson. And the way Pittman-Robertson Act works is that the monies are allocated out, there's a federal excise tax on firearms and archery and hunting equipment and certain types of camping equipment. Okay, so there's excise tax. That means that the manufacturer pays the tax, not you directly. But it's a tax on that equipment. Now it's allocated back out to the states based upon license sales. That's important. So if you have a non-hunting friend who's interested in conservation in this state, have them buy a hunting license, because then we get more federal dollars. And then if they really are committed and are really interested in conservation, then they should buy a lifetime license. Here's a lifetime license. Now, what a lifetime, for you younger folks, it makes a lot of sense, because what it does is, you can go ahead and pass it around. It gives you the right to hunt, on wherever. It gives you your hunting license, it gives you your wildlife management area permit, it gives you your turkey permit, it gives you muzzleloader, it gives you archery, it gives you crossbow, it gives you deer, gives you waterfowl. All the things that you have to pay extra for are included. And any stuff that they add, like when I bought mine, there was no fee for deer, and there was no crossbow. Both of those are now included in mine. So that's an extra $20 a year I don't have to spend, right?
You get your automatic duck stamp with that every year?
No, now for federal duck stamp, I do have to go buy that, okay? Also, I have to do the migratory game bird permit, which is free. Migratory game bird permits, I'll come back and get it. Here you go. So the migratory, this duck stamp that's on the back, that's $25.
Because it's federal.
Because it's federal, it's not state. The other thing about this license, and for a non-hunter, this is where it comes in. If they're a conservationist, they're an environmentalist, this is where you put your money where your mouth is. Okay? You go and buy your lifetime license, and it goes into an endowment fund. Anybody know what an endowment is? Okay, an endowment is where they take the money and only use the interest from that money. So the money stays there forever and generates interest, and the interest goes towards conservation. Buying land, public land, like there's a Green Swamp in north of Lakeland. Part of that was bought with money from lifetime licenses. Not all of it. I mean, some of it was bought by SwiftMud and other agencies, but part of it was from that. So it helps conservation to buy a lifetime license. And if you're really young, there's a price break, which is like for a lifetime sportsman is like, that's hunting and fishing, it's like $1,000. Or, is that right, Chris? How much was yours? About $1,000?
It was under, a little bit under.
About 9 something, right? So lifetime sport, well, cause you didn't get saltwater, you just got freshwater, right?
Right, I didn't get
So,
salt.
so, yeah, I don't fish, so she fishes not. I find it boring, whatever. So, it, you know, for like, if you're like under 12 years old, I think it is, it's like $500. Half price. And now, here's the other great thing about it. Say you move out of Florida. Now, if you wanna come back and hunt in Florida, you gotta get a non-resident license. Unless you have a lifetime license, and that's lifetime, you can move anywhere you want in the world and still come back to Florida and hunt with that lifetime license. Now, why is that important? Let's say you're a turkey hunter. There are 4 subspecies of turkey in the United States, right? There's the Eastern, Rio, and Miriam, and Osceola. 3 of them are available in multiple states. There's lots of states that have the Eastern. There's about 5 or 6 that have the Miriams, and 3 or 4 that have the Rios. There's only 1 state that has the Osceola. Anybody know what state that is? Florida. So if you want the Grand Slam, you have to come to Florida. And if you have a lifetime license, instead of $120 for that turkey permit, you're already covered. You're all set. You got it. Because the turkey permit is included in the lifetime. Any questions about that? All right. Okay, so game laws.
What's that turkey in Mexico called?
There's Gould's. There's 2 turkeys in New Mexico. There's one in the northern tier, is Gould, and there are also some Gould in Arizona, but they're not really a huntable population, they're a smaller population, so you don't usually consider those. But Gould's is in Mexico, and then there's Ocellated down in the Yucatan.
They're
which is
beautiful birds. They're like peacocks.
Yeah,
They're
they're
lovely.
peacocks.
as long as you don't look at the head.
Yeah.
Just like all turkeys, they're beautiful as long as you don't look at the head. Don't look at the head. Put a bag over their head, you're amazing. All right, so we talked about respecting animals, respecting the land, the landowners, other people. What about other people besides landowners? Other hunters. All right, so you're on public land and you've been scouting out there and you found this really awesome spot where that deer with the 45 points on one side goes every day, just like clockwork, at 4 o'clock. You know that that deer is going to be there at 4 o'clock every day because you've been watching it and you see it every day. And you put up a stand there and you're going to get that deer. You're going to get that deer. You go out there and there's somebody sitting in your stand. What do?
Stand down.
Well, the guy sitting in your stand, what are you going to do right at that moment?
Get upset, ask him to leave.
Okay, that's one idea.
No, make sure he sees you so he doesn't shoot you first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I would suggest both of those approaches are not good. Because about maybe 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, there was a case where this exactly happened up in, was it Michigan or Wisconsin? You know what about this, right? The guy sitting in the stand and they confronted him. He started shooting. He killed like a couple of them, right? And wounded a couple more. There were like 5 that got hit altogether. He's lost his mind. So you don't want to confront somebody sitting in your stand because you know they know that ain't their stand. You know they know that. So they know that they're doing something wrong. They already know that. So if they know they're doing something wrong, how do you know how far they will go? You don't know that, right? So what you do is you back out and you let either the check station personnel or a wildlife officer or somebody like that and let the professionals deal with it.
Back off and get a clear shot from a long distance. How about this thing?
Okay, well, okay, first of all, that would be illegal and therefore unethical, right? But it leaves a dilemma in your mind. No, not at all, no dilemma. No killing other people. That's where I draw the line. I'll kill anything except other people. Alright? So, alright, so you back off. Now, one of the ways